1 of 4. What's the 1?
Which one?
2 of 4.
We're almost there.
2 of 4.
Why is it
3 of
taking so
4.
long, Ian?
We got it. That's what it does.
Ian?
Connecting to an event. It takes a second.
God damn it.
Twitch is like instant, and then Facebook, and then YouTube.
Yeah, Isaac. Time to like the
Discord is
stream.
disconnected.
Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate it.
Like and smash.
Smash it.
Smash that like button.
Smash Ian.
No.
Yes.
Please.
Caliente.
Why?
I like this
not
comment.
a question.
Fucking finally. It's 9 on the dot.
Yeah.
What?
Jesus.
This is what time we start.
This is when we do this.
9 o'clock. Thank you.
Show us those beautiful faces. Jay Retha, you are on the wrong stream.
And if you'd like to smash in, go to Adam and Eve.
I like that. Thank you, James.
No,
Yes.
it's not available. Nope.
It
Not one of
is.
the free gifts.
It
It
is.
is 50% off, though. Hi, everybody.
How we doing? How's everybody doing?
I'm not going to talk through this. I'm just going to let Ian do it. Just let
Oh.
Ian. Yeah, Ian, you're on.
Do I have to answer
50% of the stream. You're half. Go.
you got to drink this whiskey with me. That's what's got to happen.
All right, are we drinking whiskey?
Drinking whiskey.
No.
Yeah, you'll notice I took.
You took the thing off.
I took the thing
You're
off.
just picking random now, right?
Yeah. So
There we go.
Here we go. Picking random.
boom,
1, 2.
boom.
Got
First one. That boutique whiskey company.
it. Okay. Sounds a little.
Second one?
Sounds a little Ian-esque.
Fuse Spirits.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Try the first one
We'll
first.
try
Let's
this artisanal fucking
Let's try.
mayonnaise Brooklyn
artisanal mayonnaise.
thing here.
Sounds delicious. I still gotta on Ian's suggestion do that mayonnaise grilled cheese. I haven't done it yet. I gotta try it out.
All right. How's it smell?
It's good.
Smells all right.
It's tangy.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Oh, that's got a oof.
That has
That's got so much
some heat to it, buddy.
That's one of those ones they'd slide down the bar in the old Western and the guy would be like, wow.
You know you
Is
are
that
having
cast strength? That's fucking
Bro, you know
brick.
you are having whiskey with that.
Holy shit. 24-year-old.
The thing is, it tastes good.
Batch.
It's got a nice flavor, but it has a lot of heat to
Yikes.
it.
48% by volume?
That's not bad.
That's not much.
That's not bad. It's
I mean, it's a
96
little
proof.
more, it's a little more than like a bourbon, but like a straight, like an 80 or
like
something,
a normal,
right?
right?
Guys, don't read that super chat. Don't do it. Just don't. It'll be
I shouldn't
fun.
read that?
No, don't read it.
That's
Okay.
Sarah. You got to read it.
You gotta read that.
You got to read that. That's
No,
Sarah.
No.
Sarah is here, and if you don't read my super chat again, did we miss
Did we miss
miss
a
one?
super chat, Sarah?
From our own employee? She's spending money.
She's
We pay
spending
her
the money we give her. On
right
this.
back. It's fucking
back.
full circle.
And then here's the worst part, Sarah. We have to give some of that money that we paid that you're paying us back to Google.
and all that just so we can ignore you.
So mean.
She will post only pro Peterson content
I
for
want to see that.
Nothing could
content.
make
I
you do
want
that.
She's not going to do
Yeah,
that.
Literally
Sarah.
nothing could
Someone
make Sarah
said
do
slightly
that.
choppy. Is it
Oh,
bad?
several
Yeah.
chats, she said. We've
I
ignored
dropped-
several chats.
We have not.
Ian,
we probably
you
have. We have a
motherfucker.
little
This,
bit.
you
It
guys,
was
what you guys
during
don't
the
know.
thing.
No, you guys listen. What you don't know is there is an intense rivalry, but it's only one way between Ian and Sarah. Ian doesn't want us to say, but Ian just hates Sarah. It's obvious.
he,
It's
he doesn't
clear.
want- he doesn't want us to say
It's
that
clear.
on air.
Yeah.
but-
Don't
I
read
mean-
the email I sent you about her.
I forwarded it to
kidding,
Sarah.
Sarah,
That
you
was a
wanna-
little awkward.
What?
Super weird.
This is a betrayal.
Someone said it was choppy. It was choppy or it is choppy?
No, it was like I reduced the bit rate a little bit, so it should be better.
Okay.
It should be better for everybody
All
right
right.
now.
We're not
It's
losing
also at
streams. I'm
30
looking at it and
FPS,
it doesn't
by the
look like it's losing stream, losing whatever strings or string theory or whatever it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta finish this up. Here we go.
I don't know that I
do
would
wanna
drink
see
this.
those pro Peterson.
Like, I don't know that I'm man enough to just drink that.
That is some fucking.
That's got some heat.
God damn, that's a brick.
Wow.
Yikes.
I mean, it tastes like, honestly, like
There's a sweet edge to it though.
Yeah.
Like there's a sweetness to it that's really pleasant. But it's really a brick.
it's- yeah.
It's a
Ooh.
brick. That first hit is a fucking
God damn.
slap.
It kind of has this like,
Wow.
It's like if heartburn could be sweet.
Yeah. That boutique whiskey company. Okay.
Yeah.
24-year-old.
I mean, it has a good flavor to it.
Yeah.
But goddamn,
it's got a lot of flavor.
Fuck.
All right.
Right.
This one is
Few
very
spirits.
light looking.
Yeah,
Look at
it
how
is.
light that looks. That looks very. All right. This one is.
Can't even smell it. I
Few
literally
Spirits.
can't even smell it.
Doesn't smell like anything. It's 46.5.
So it's not even that much different.
All right, here we go.
All right.
That's so smooth. Holy shit. In comparison
like
to the
it.
other one, that's super smooth. Not a fan?
I don't like it. No. Oh,
That's not bad. I don't
it's
dislike
very
it.
smooth, but I don't like.
I don't
It's
dislike
got a flavor to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I think
can't
it
put my
might be
finger on it.
barley flavor or
I
something. in
don't
there.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's got that barley mash in it.
definitely
I
got a
don't-
little bit of that edge. Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean,
If you like that flavor, I think this is a well-made whiskey.
I think Heath would like this.
Heath would like.
Heath would like this.
This would be a good bourbon for Scotch drinkers. If you're a Scotch drinker, this would be a good bourbon for you.
Yeah. That's good. All right. All right. I'm looking to see. It doesn't. Everybody's saying it's better now, so we're good. Ian, keep your eye on the frame rate
Yeah.
or whatever the backstack.
Yeah,
Because
mess
I
with
have
the bit rate
I have the
occasionally.
MiFi right here. I'm ready to do this.
We could flip
We're
that
ready.
fucker right
I'm ready
over.
to go.
could.
I'm ready to
So
go.
good.
So, all right, we're doing an AMA tonight.
Well, real quick, Warlord of Video Game Glitches think, does heat and bourbon make it good? No. Heat and bourbon just makes it heaty.
Yeah.
Like, and I know, and I'm not being shitty. It's just a little bit of heat can be a good thing depending on if you're making a mixed drink.
Yeah.
A little bit of heat is nice in a mixed drink.
Sure.
Because it gives it a little edge and a little kick to it. On its own, if I'm just sipping a bourbon, if I'm just having a bourbon neat
Like on the rocks.
or on the
something.
rocks,
Yeah.
I don't want a lot of heat to it.
Yeah.
That's not, because that's going to have a heartburny kind of thing.
Yeah,
going
and
on.
it has that same effect. It has
Right.
that same, like it's all that back of the throat. It's
Right.
all in the wrong spot for that to be
Yeah, I
pleasant.
find a lot of heat unpleasant in
Yeah.
a sip and drink. But again, in a mixed drink where
Yeah.
you've got, it's
Might
going to be
be- might be
watered
good.
down,
Yeah.
I like a little heat.
Might be
So it
good.
depends on what you're doing. You know what I've been using for mixed drinks recently, Cecil? I know you're not much of a mixed drink guy. You don't make a lot of cocktails. But I make old fashions.
I only make one cocktail.
The vodka
tonic is what I make, yeah.
I make old fashions at home. I make them fairly, and I've got this shit down. I use a little bit of bubbly water from the Soda Stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes almost like a old fashioned soda.
Nice.
It's fucking terrific, and I use Old Granddad Bonded. It's that's well bourbon, but it's not bad bourbon for a drink.
This last weekend, I ran into a friend of ours, Chris.
Yeah.
I went and saw him and his wife, and I brought with me a Fever Tree makes a pink grapefruit tonic.
Oh, is it good? It sounds so good.
We put pink grapefruit tonic. He put in pink grapefruit bitters that he has, and then we had vodka that we put in there. Is so
Fucking, that sounds so
fucking
good.
drinkable. You just you drink, you're just like, oh, this is dangerous. It tastes like an unsweetened grape soda or a grapefruit soda.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I
Fever Tree makes them now so that you can find them. They're in the pink.
I'll drink the shit out of
really
that.
good. And it feels like one of those things like I know for sure in the summer when I'm out on the patio.
I was thinking that,
I'm
yep.
100% going to go buy some of this stuff and just be like, I am going to get wife's got to help me in drunk tonight.
that sounds like after yard work.
Yeah. Right.
That sounds like
Right.
on vacation.
Yeah, it really does.
Man,
it sounds amazing.
That sounds so fucking good.
Sounds amazing. All right. Okay, so we're gonna do a AMA tonight. I gotta call this up. I gotta push down chat here for a second. So we're gonna get started with our AMA. Now we're not gonna show the questions because they're on the screen, and we got a whole bunch of stuff here. So we're not gonna show our screen. Ian, you're not showing the screen, are you?
No.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So we have our questions on the screen. We're gonna start with the first one. Tom, read who it's from and what the question is.
This is from Nargle Fargle, our ugly head.
Loving that. Loving that
Nargle
name.
Fargle. I
Loving
love
that
it.
name.
Question is for Tom, Cecil, and I like the way he phrases this. And even
Even Ian.
even shitty
Ian.
fucking Ian
Yeah.
can play. What is your favorite album and why?
I think we got to default to the music producer on this and have him answer first.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, what is your favorite album?
No,
And why?
And why? Yeah,
And why?
the why is the
The
good
why is
question.
important.
Yeah.
I don't. It's
What album is Wrecking
okay.
Ball on again? That's
Yeah,
a great
that's
song.
a great song.
So good.
I'm just trying to think. I can't pick one Nickelback album. It's really like all of them are really.
Fucking name a Nickelback album
name
right
one,
now.
yeah.
I don't, Photograph maybe. I don't
I
know.
wouldn't know.
mean,
I
It's a
asked him
song.
that question in a challenge, but if he could have said anything, he could have been like biscuit juice. I'd been like, fuck, he got it.
He got it.
I don't
Damn
know.
in defense of Nickelback, I think they're actually not that as bad as people hate them. Like whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay.
They're no
so anyway,
worse than any of the rest of those fucking
You're
bands.
getting off. You're getting off the topic.
They're all in
Yeah,
the
I'm getting
same
off.
garbage category.
Okay, come on. Tell us what.
you're
Tell us
right.
what.
Stop distracting.
Tell us what
I
experimental
mean,
funk band is your favorite band.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that would be one. There's a lot that I like, but there's an album by Manhattan Transfer called Brazil. It's kind of weird because Manhattan Transfer is like that a cappella group sort of, but they did like a.
It's Bobby
white people go
McFerrin,
to
isn't it?
Brazil.
It's fucking Bobby
Is it
McFerrin.
Bobby McFerrin?
It's fucking Bobby
It's
McFerrin. Oh, you know what I really like? I like that. I like Von Canto.
It's like white people. Okay, white people go to Brazil and then they do Brazilian like stuff,
And then they appropriate their culture.
Really good.
That sounds terrible,
yeah.
and you sound like a terrible
Your
person.
favorite
80s,
album is
90s.
You're
racist.
canceled.
yeah, I'm sure it is true. The reason is because it reminds me of my bio dad, so that's like the reason why.
Oh, is that sweet, or does it remind you like in a bad way? I gotta know your bio.
No, this is
dad.
not. This is
Let's
not
have a
Ian's
moment. Ian.
therapy.
No, we're gonna
couch.
have a moment.
No.
Ian, let's stretch out. Tell me a little bit. Tell me a story.
No, it's sweet. He's dead, so it's like
I'm
it's
sorry.
sweet.
Oh, okay. Good.
Wait, I knew I was like, if you brought it up, I was like gonna bring it down immediately. First one, I was like, fuck. But
Neat. Well, I'm
no,
glad
I
we started
don't know,
this
I
out
love
like
it,
this.
and
There
I
you
play
go.
it now, I know, right?
Okay.
I play it for my daughter too, and she likes it. So, it's kinda,
So it makes it
anyway.
extra sad.
So
Nice.
it makes it extra sad.
Nice.
that she'll
We sit and
never
cry
know her
together. We do a lot of
grandfather.
crying
We do a lot of
together.
crying.
So-
Yeah.
Mostly she's got to poop though, you know. And,
She needs a baba.
you know, so do I. I got to poop too. It's I don't know. We're simpatico.
All right, Tom.
Man, I don't know. This sort of shit is hard for me. Like favorite album. Fuck. Part of it like just depends on the fucking weather. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like
I don't-
I get into shit.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say like as far as my favorite album that's just consistently excellent. Like I love Tool. Like Tool is a great band. I love the band. I've seen them many times in concert. I'm gonna see them in March actually, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably get coronavirus from that. That'll be fun. Lateralis is a terrific album,
Lateralis
start to
is
finish.
very good, very good,
Start
yeah.
to finish.
Start to finish,
Every
yeah.
song on that album
Yeah.
is wonderful.
So I'm a Pandora guy, so I don't listen
Yeah.
to a lot of albums. Like I listen to a genre of music, and that genre plays multiple different stuff. I've listened to Pandora at this point for over 15 years.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that's just the thing I turn to whenever I want to listen to music. So for me, albums aren't really a thing. But if I were to get like pushed on the spot, there is I would say it's a compilation album, but it's Staring at the Sea by The Cure is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's a compilation album of all their hits though, so it kind of
Sure.
is cheating, right?
Whatever, dude. If you like it, then
but
it's your favorite album. It's all right.
If it's just an album that's I think probably one of the best albums of all time is Led Zeppelin 2. Led Zeppelin 2, start to finish, is just an unreal, amazing album. Probably, it could be the best work they ever did, and they're an amazing band. So that's, if I was going to say like best album of all time in my mind,
Yeah.
that would be it. It's not my favorite, but it is one of the, it's like the best.
Yeah,
of all, you know
see,
what
and I
mean?
guess
So that's-
I've, like
it's hard for me
right
to answer
because
this
it's
question.
like there are albums that I think are really good, but I don't put them on that.
I don't
much.
put them on that much, right? Yeah.
So it's just what do I put on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I listen to albums.
I listen to Pandora. So for me,
Yeah.
it's like play a genre of music. So for me, I'd be like, play synthwave. And so like there'll be like synthwave after synthwave song that comes on. And I like some of them and I down thumb the ones I don't.
Right.
And sometimes that happens to be a band and it might be on the same album, but it's not like I'm listening to an album all the way through. So next one is Sebastian the Great. What's your guys' favorite movies, favorite general movie / show genre? My favorite movie, I was trying to think of this earlier, and I always come back to it. Aliens with Sigourney Weaver.
It's a great
It's a
movie.
fucking amazing movie. It's so good. It's got so many memorable lines. I think when I think of favorite movie, I think if I walk past the movie while it's on television. Will I sit down to watch it?
Right.
And there's maybe 10 movies in the world that'll do that to me, that automatically grab me, and I'm like, it's on. I've got to watch the rest
Right.
of the movie. And Aliens, it's every time.
Man, I read this question and I was like, fuck, I hate this question. Because, like, I don't like to watch a movie more than once.
Yeah.
Like, my wife does. She likes to, like, she finds that very comforting. I know a lot of people
Sure,
really
a lot
do.
of people do. Yeah.
So, and I don't mind. Like, if she wants to watch something 20 times, I don't care. Like, it's fine. We'll hang out and watch it. But for me, it's like, I see it, I'm like, cool, that was awesome. I never sort of watch it again.
Sure.
So it's a hard question. But then I think, like, what movie have I seen more than once of my own volition? Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah, right.
That movie is
it's funny.
Mean.
It's funny.
And I love the way that it's mean.
Yeah, it's funny.
mean in this funny, fucked up way. And I love that fucking movie.
Yeah.
It's just great. If I were thinking of, like, but then I thought, like, well, what's a more serious movie? And, like, There Will Be Blood, I think, is a nearly perfect movie.
Yeah. That's not a movie though I want to watch a lot.
I know.
Because
That's
it's
the thing.
really hard to watch.
I wanna-
District 9's another one like that. It's like, I don't want to watch that.
The first time I ever had a legitimate, full-fledged, no bullshit panic attack, I was sitting in the theater watching District 9. And I was a grown-ass man, and I never had a panic attack before in my life. And I'm watching District, and I had a bad day at work. So, like, I had this tremendous amount of stress that had built up. And I went to the movie, and I sat in the movie, and about, like, a third of the way into the movie, I just start to have this and that movie freaks me out because of that.
Because you have
because I had
memories
this,
of
like,
it.
association where I was
Right?
like, maybe I'm dying of a heart attack right now.
Yeah.
I got Twizzlers though, you know, and you're just like, fuck. And then I'm like, no, I'm having a panic attack. I just got to eat this shit and watch this enormous action movie about aliens.
Oh, and it's so good too.
It's a great
so
movie,
good.
but it kind of freaks me out.
Help, I took legal advice from a podcast. I don't remember if you two guys ever talked about this on the podcast, but when and where did you two meet? So, and follow up from As Good as Blank. What were your first memories or impressions of each other? Tom and I met at a philosophy club in college.
Yep.
We were both in this philosophy club together. And we didn't know each other.
No.
And there was a discussion, and we were hanging out. And I didn't like Tom at all for like the first 2 years I met him.
Yeah,
I
we didn't get
like him.
along
We
that
didn't get
well.
along.
We ran into each other because we hung out in the same social
Same
circle.
group, yeah.
So, you know, we'd see each other at parties and stuff, and like
And also at school. So
And
we
at
would
school
see
all
each
the
other
time.
all the time.
All the time at
Because there was
school.
constantly this group would meet.
Yep.
And they would hang out in this one section of this. It was
the
a
campus,
bridge.
yeah.
It was a campus, but it had a bridge on it that was an enclosed bridge where everybody would either sit and hang out. And at that time, Magic was really big. So people would play Magic
Yep.
cards and things like that. And so we met that way, and we would just hang out. And we'd be in the same circle, but Tom and I wouldn't talk. Or if we did, it would be
Peripherally,
peripherally. Like I kind of knew the girl that he was sort of hitting on, so I would talk
Right.
to her a little and that
Right.
sort of thing. And
Yeah.
that was really the
kinda
extent of it. That was the extent of it.
That was kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't. And then it's so funny because I remember Cecil, you know, he had this like big black leather jacket with all this stuff written on it, like
Yeah.
pro-death raver and like all this like stuff. And I thought he was like more legitimate than I was, like, because he's a couple of years older than
Right,
I was.
older,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I kind of didn't like him, and I was kind of a little intimidated by him. And then he went away to school, and I went away to a different school, and we ran into each other downtown one day.
Yeah,
I remember this.
yeah.
We ran into each other downtown one day, and you were living downtown.
I was living
and you
like
were really
a block
kind.
away.
Yeah.
I was a block away.
Yeah, and you were like, we should hang out.
Yeah.
Like, you were really kind. You like extended. You were like, here's a guy I know. Like, I'm gonna extend an invitation. And I remember being like, yeah. And I remember being like, we'll probably never.
We'll
get
never
together.
see this guy.
I'll
again.
never get
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And
And then 2 years later, you stood up in my wedding.
I know.
Yeah, 2 years later, you stood up.
I
in my
stood
wedding.
up in your- yeah.
It was like we became friends
Yeah.
again over philosophy, and that's
Yeah,
the thing.
we
is
read
like,
Kant together.
We read Immanuel Kant. I was reading it in school,
Yep.
and I brought it to Tom. We also read The Prince together.
Yep.
We read a bunch of philosophical and political texts together.
And I loved that
when
time.
we were in college together with another good friend of ours, Jacob.
Yep.
who would sit with us, and he was also a philosophy major. So we had these like
Yep.
really great conversations.
And we all went
Tom-
to different schools.
Yeah, and Tom and I met at a time when like you have those like talks that go into the night,
Yeah.
where you have those conversations that start at like 10 o'clock, and then you're still talking at 3 a.m. while
Yeah.
you're not leaving because you're going to spend the night, and you're just having these really deep, long conversations. Used to have them.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was
them many times in my life.
You're trying
over
to
different-
figure some shit
but
out.
You're trying to
man.
figure out
Yeah.
life, and we had these
Yeah.
really interesting conversations, and we became really close friends after that.
Yep.
And I didn't like Tom. I thought he was a mechanic when I first met him. I don't know why. I think it was the hat. It was the hat.
Oh God, I had this hat.
He had a leather hat that was
did.
like, and I thought that's something a mechanic would wear. He's got to be a mechanic.
Yeah, I'm the least mechanically inclined
Tom is the least mechanic. After helping put Tom's house together, I know Tom is the least.
I am the least
inclined.
mechanically inclined person you'll ever meet in your life.
Tom, next one from Ghostwalker.
Yep. Ghostwalker says, if money wasn't a concern, what would the two of you be doing for work? And then he says, Tom, would you be a writer? Cecil, would you be a chef of some type?
You're already a
Pastry, for
writer
example.
without the job.
Ouch. Hurtful. So I thought about this question. If money were no concern, what I would do is first thing I would do is I'd take a 5-year nap. I would, if money was no concern,
Right.
I would not have any work.
You wouldn't get up out of bed. You just
I would
stay in
sleep
bed for
until I
5
didn't
figures.
feel tired anymore.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I don't know how long that
You don't
would
know
take.
what that'd take. Yeah.
But I would sleep, and we're not talking about like, oh, I'd catch up. I mean, I would sleep until like I woke up consistently not feeling like, oh my God, I got to do it again. And then I'd figure it out.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be a writer. I don't know that I would ever try to make a living out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have any interest in, like, I love to write because I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm always going to write.
That's a different thing. It's a different thing than just wanting to do it to like make money. Making money off something it changes the thing.
But I guess if money were no object,
money is
then
no object, maybe.
Fuck it. Like,
If money were no object, I would do Anthony Bourdain's job. I
oh,
would
fuck
fly around
yeah.
the fucking world and I would eat food and I would look at a camera and be like, this is fucking delicious. Of course it is. I'm eating food in another country. I'll be somewhere else later talking to someone really interesting. I'll be back.
That's the best answer.
Genuinely the greatest job
Yeah,
in the
I would
history
do
of mankind.
Yeah.
And he had it for like 10 years. And every single one of his shows is just jaw-droppingly amazing because it was such a great idea to have a really cool guy go around the world enjoying food and enjoying people's company. And it's outstanding. I would do that in a second if I could.
I've actually thought about like retiring and being a travel blogger. Like when I retire.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I do love to write.
Yeah.
And I would love to travel the world. And so I was like, oh, fucking write about it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a great answer.
It'd be awesome.
But after my 5-year nap.
Yeah. Jason asks what our favorite fiction book is.
Okay, I read that as friction book.
Hey,
I now
Caliente.
have to change my answer.
Caliente.
Mine's easy. I love my favorite
Grendel?
book is Grendel.
Yeah.
Grendel by John Gardner.
Yeah. I still need to read it. so-
God, I love, and I mean this with real sincerity, I love every page of that book. Every
I'll
single
have to read it. I've
page
never read it yet. So
is fucking
yeah.
poetry. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful, wonderful.
I wonder if I could
book.
listen to it on Audible.
Yeah, I bet you could.
I might do
I
that.
bet you could.
I might do that.
Yeah.
For me, Oryx and Crake is a really well-written book. And it's such a great story as far as fiction goes. But one of my favorite fiction books that I just loved start to finish was Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know that the rest of the series is amazing, but Old Man's War is both sweet and also has like a lot of death and craziness happening at the same time. Really cool book. Really enjoyed the shit out of that book. So those are the two that popped up in my head. I'm sure I love other books, but those are the two that popped up into my head.
Yeah.
What's Lucky have to say?
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Ian, do you have a favorite book? Do you know how to? Do you read?
Oh, be nice.
Have I read? Yeah, I mean, I used to read a lot before in the
Before
long
what?
ago.
In the before times?
Before
the
you were
internet
woken up at 2
porn.
a.m. by a baby?
Yeah, that.
Before every time you nodded your head downward a little bit, you immediately fell asleep. Tell me the fucking
Yes.
truth. That's true. Do you ever fall asleep reading a book to your kid before the kid falls asleep?
No, not
The
yet.
struggle is
I guess
real,
that's
bro.
really-
It's
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
I do it with my cats.
I like
when I read to my
like
cats
all the
at night.
Terry Pratchett stuff, like the Ring World.
Oh, that's
good stuff,
yeah.
Kind of goofy, weird stuff. And all that kind of, actually all the Terrys. Terry Pratchett, Terry Brooks, Terry Goodkind, although he's apparently an asshole. But whatever. They're all kind of like weird fantasy shit.
Like Brandon Sanderson?
I don't know if I read what's the book called?
Oh, I
Like,
mean,
what's their
that
series?
guy is incredibly prolific. So he finished the Wheel of Time series.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
but I like
I never read Wheel.
he's
of
got a
Time.
Stormlight Archives series
it.
if you like fantasy that I think is really good. So you check that out.
Discworld, not Ring World. What was I?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Ringworld is Nevin or whatever that guy's name
ringworm is a
Larry
parasite.
Nevin.
You can
Ringworm,
got it.
yeah, that's different.
All right,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one
yeah.
is this one I think it might be to me. It says, are there any recipes or cookbooks you would recommend for someone who wants to minimize time spent preparing and cooking meals? That's from Lucky. I would say Fast Food My Way by Jacques Pepin. He did a whole series on PBS called Fast Food My Way, and it's all like 7 ingredient foods. Super easy to make. Takes like 20 minutes to make everything, and it's super easy to prepare. And the guy is a fucking amazing chef. He's seriously my favorite celebrity chef. He's my favorite celebrity chef. So check that book out. That's a really solid book.
I know that the question was to you, but I actually have a suggestion on that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Another option that I think is legit is if you want to minimize the time spent, like those meal services like HelloFresh will teach you how to do some cooking if you pay attention.
Yeah.
They use the same methods over and over, and they're legit. 25, 30 minutes, and they're pretty good.
Yeah, and they
actually are.
They're small in ingredients too. You're absolutely right. They don't give you 30 ingredients. They give you 7 ingredients because they don't want to ship fucking a whole thing to you.
Yeah.
And if they give you because if you look up a recipe in like a Cook's Illustrated, let's say, especially old ones,
oh my God,
recipe has 25 ingredients.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is Cook's Illustrated if you want to minimize
if you want
time.
to minimize.
Yeah, I fucking love Cook's Illustrated. I do. I've got a soft spot. You turned me on to that.
Yeah.
I still subscribe to it.
It's a great magazine.
It's terrific, but oh my God, they use fucking every ingredient ever, and they use minuscule amounts of it.
And there's no reason that it would ever happen with like a Blue Apron or something, because they got to ship you each one of those.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be 5 ingredients. And they're going to taste good together. They're going to do a good job of pairing things, and they're going to introduce you to stuff you don't normally cook with.
Yep.
That's the other thing too.
Yep.
You might use a squash. You'd be like, I've never used this one before,
Yeah.
and then you'll enjoy it.
I like that. And for the subscription boxes, I've tried 2 or 3. The Martha and Marley spoon one, which I always call the Marley and me one.
I've never tried that one. It's Martha Stewart.
Yeah, it's the best one
Okay,
I've tried.
I'll
I like
look
it
at
better
it.
than Blue Apron
Yeah.
and HelloFresh. So
Hey, Martha, get in touch with us. You can advertise on
sponsor
our
the show if you want.
Yeah. This one's from Paul. Tom, can you read this one?
Paul says, how to stay positive, if in fact you do, amid all the everything that's happening. It feels like you have to go out of your way not to doom scroll on social media these days. I know there isn't necessarily a binary choice between staying informed and preserving one's mental health, but I'm having a hell of a time striking a balance between the two.
Tom, I think between the two of us are a little less positive than me, I would say. That's probably not been traditionally the case.
It's not.
But I
really
think it is
soured.
now. I think it is now. I think very much it is now.
Yeah.
So do you have anything, or are you just going to punt?
No, I do. Because I would, when I read this question, I thought, well, the second part of this question is actually near and dear to my heart. As far as like the doom scrolling and then how to stay informed and preserve your mental health, I strongly, strongly think that you need to stop and have on how you consume your news.
Right.
It has to be written or you won't do it. You won't think it through all the way. You got to write it down. You have to have a written plan on how to consume news and use social media exclusively for something other than trying to consume news and information.
Yeah.
Use social media to connect with friends and family, to see baby pictures. To organize events, to love people that you're away from. Do not ever use social media of any kind to consume news. Have an entirely different written plan on how to consume your news that does not ever involve social media. And then take your social media and limit that down to people you love. Only follow people you love. Don't get any news from it at all. People that post a bunch of news stories, hide all that shit. Make your social media a wonderful, positive place full of people you love.
People, funny people too. Like memes and shit are funny.
Keep whatever.
I love
keep
that.
stuff that makes you
I think
feel
it's great.
good.
Yeah, I think that's super great.
Right.
Another thing too that I would say, and this happened to me when COVID was starting, because you could catch yourself just doom scrolling. Think of something that ignites your passion and just pick a hobby. Find something to do that's not sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Find something to do that's not sitting in front of your phone. Find something to do that's something else, that's something away from those things, because there's plenty of ways to relax. If your relaxing is watching something on Netflix, that's fine. I mean, 100%. But if there could also be take up leather tooling, or take up sewing or something that ignites your passion. I started recording a bread video when everything was just going crazy in the world, and I was just like, I want to do something. I want to do something else. I'm bored home. I don't have anything to do. You know what? I'm gonna gonna make a video, a cooking video. I've never
Yeah.
made a cooking video before. I'm a cook. I can do this. And I had fun doing it. I had a really good time learning about it and understanding it. And it teaches you a whole new way to think about cooking, so it was fun. I got to sort of do something that I never did before. And I think that that's important because we get stuck in these ruts, especially in our houses, because we're studying so much at home now that you get stuck in this rut. Doing something that's new and interesting, that's that sort of doom scrolling feel.
Another thought that I have on this is, I think, and I have to make a conscious effort. I'm bad about this. I have to make a conscious effort about this. But I think about something that I call our small time, which is the 5 minutes here, the 6 minutes there. And when you have that small time, don't pull out your phone. Don't pull out your phone. Spend that time just waiting for somebody. Look around at the space you're in and be present. Don't try to fill your small moments with your phone.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. It's actually kind of wonderful. If you're a fucking old fucker like I am, you lived most of your life not filling your small time with anything. So you filled your small time by just being in the space that you were in and thinking the thoughts that you thought. And sometimes it was boring, but you have to have space in your own mind that isn't used up by someone else in order to think.
Yeah. Next one is from go. What?
Sorry, we were getting a little lag, but it seems to be clearing up, just so you guys know.
So what was the point of you telling me that then?
I was hoping that it would have exhibited further issues.
What an asshole. Why did I say that?
No, because you would have seen it in the chat if you paid attention.
You're not
one,
paying
and
attention.
two,
I can't even see the chat.
I
I can't even
know,
see the
but
chat.
Let's go over to the chat. What are people saying?
Bad, and then it stopped, and then I was already mid-sentence.
Okay,
So,
good again. I'm hearing good
I'm
again.
sorry.
Ian is telling on himself.
Yes. I didn't. Okay. I'm just saying it might need.
Do we need
might
to
need
take
plug
a
in the
moment?
thing, but we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Okay.
You tell
Everybody's fine.
Ian, just stop us if we're in the middle of talking. Just be
I
like,
know
hey,
it's
you need to plug
okay.
the thing in, and we'll do it.
Fine. Okay.
I'm
Next
actually
time it goes bad.
Okay. Kendallin asks, have you considered yourselves feminists and LGBTQ plus allies, or were those positions you came to over time? If so, were there some things that shifted your mindsets? Tom, who's been...
As far as the feminist issue, as far as I can recall, I feel like, I went to college and I majored in English literature, but I took just from the beginning, I took a huge amount of women's literature classes and like women's studies classes because I was just interested. And I think I was interested because I didn't understand anything about women. I grew up in a house full of men. And so I found I was fucking baffled by women and girls, and I didn't really know how to relate to women and girls. And so I thought, I'll just read a bunch of stuff about women and I'll go to these classes and I'll learn in this like really directed and focused way because that's what I do. And it like a terrible way to relate to human beings.
I can imagine.
I do think that from at least a very early age, feminism was easy for me. As far as being like an LGBTQ plus ally, I never cared. I remember the first gay person I knew that I was friends with. It was a guy in college, and I was sophomore or junior, and I just transferred over to University of Illinois Chicago. And I made one friend, and it was this guy Bill. And Bill was a couple years older than I was, and I was complaining about something. And he's like, "That's why I never date girls." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gay." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And I literally, it couldn't have meant, I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, I guess we can't relate on this. Like, this is just a top,
Right.
And I just never gave a shit.
Sure.
It just wasn't something I was that worked up about.
Yeah,
And to be honest, I think that indifference is helpful. Where it's like, well, I love Bill. Bill's a great guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, why would I not be an ally of Bill's?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
He's not a category.
I grew up in a very sexist household. So my parents there was very strict gender roles in my family's household. My mom was the only woman, right? Because it was all boys, and then my dad. And my mom was, you see the Christmas Story where my mom never ate a warm meal in her life. That was my mom. Like she was like,
I remember you telling me that every time I watched the Christmas Story. I was like, that was Cecil's
genuinely 100%. Like that lady was like my mom. Like she cooked and she cleaned and she did everything. And so I grew up in a real sexist household, but as soon as I got out of the house, I did exactly what you did, which was I took a bunch of feminist philosophy classes when I was in college. I took a bunch of them, and I was the only dude in the whole class.
Same. And, literally the only guy in all those classes.
I had great teachers. Like I had really great teachers, and I learned a lot. And I just eventually, I think I just grew out of it. I grew out of that idea that I was sort of set with my whole life. And I had a gay cousin as a kid, so I was acclimated to gay people very early in my life. He used to watch us, so I knew what a gay person was at a very young age, and nobody ever really made fun of him. It wasn't like a butt of people's jokes. That was just Rick, and like he was just gay, and that was it. And so like we didn't really talk about that in my family, and I never really thought it was anything other than just how people were. So it never really occurred to me. That's one of the few prejudices I didn't get ingrained in me as a child. Like one of the few was not anti-gay.
Yeah, and I think too, like I'll say this too. I don't want to come across something anyway that I'm not. Like in high school I was a lonely outsider kid. Like I was not a popular kid. I was not on any sports teams. I was angry most of the time. And to be honest, I think when you're like that, like you identify more readily with other marginalized people
that are
right?
marginalized. Yeah, for sure.
And some of my marginalization, to own it, was self-marginalized, right? I was just an angry motherfucker. And so like, why would anyone want to hang out with me? Yeah. So like, that was my fault. Like, but I think when I look back at like my earlier adolescence, it's like, well, yeah, I knew some people that were gay and I didn't give a shit they were gay because I was too mad about other shit.
Right.
So like, yeah, fucking that dude over there is gay. It's like, I don't give a shit. I'm mad about something, So
Chris Ward asked a 3-part question about guests.
Yeah.
Who has been your favorite guest?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Which guest had the biggest impact on you and how you view the world? Who is a guest that you would love to have on your show, alive or dead? So I'm going to go first on this one. Who is my favorite guest? Go listen to episode 600. That has all my favorite guests.
Yeah,
all my favorite guests are on episode 600. Those are the people who have been friends of the show for a long time for a reason, because they're my favorite guests. They're like my favorite people to talk to. They're the favorite people when a Alex Jones story comes up. I want to talk to Knowledge Fight because they're cool guys and they're fun to hang
They're
with.
really fun.
You know
guys.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing goes with, the Scathing guys, and the same thing goes with Marsh and Andy. And, the list goes on. I love Gio. I love, everybody that was on that episode. Seth, go look it up.
What's wrong, Ian?
We got chops.
More chops? Should I just switch it out?
Yeah, let's do a quick switch.
Is the audio all
Everybody,
borky?
we'll do a quick switch. Yeah, apparently the audio is getting choppy too.
Okay.
So that's not good.
All right, I'm gonna.
So
switch
guys,
it
we're
out.
gonna do a switchy switch.
Hold on, I gotta move this.
So I'm gonna kick them real quick, and then I'm just gonna do the AMA. So go ahead, everybody.
See, so would you switch over to the
questions.
chat?
Yeah.
I just want to monitor it all that time. God, what a pain in the ass this is.
It's crazy that it's like
Audio cuts out for a second at a time. A second? That's real bad. That's like. That's not just marginal. That's a big drop. If audio is cutting out too, this audio is such lightweight.
Just keep
It's like a
going.
quick hiccup.
Just keep going, Ian. I love
I know
you, buddy.
it seems better. Thank you.
I know
it
keep
seems
vamping.
better right now, but it's gonna get wacky. If they were gonna ask me a question about whether or not I was a feminist, I was gonna say if it has a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you want. But they didn't do it, so the joke kind of died in my head. But then I had the it's dropping again. Okay, so
I'm switching out.
Okay, he's
Give me a
switching
second.
out. He's
Switch it
switching
out.
out. Kick them. I'm gonna kick them.
You don't have to do anything, right? Because you
Gotta
hold
kick
the
us.
stream.
He's got to kick us.
You're kicking me and
I
see.
might-
Jesus.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, how you doing? So this is different audio. So now I'm sending different audio differently in the way that I am. So yeah, it's affecting me too because I go through the same pathway when we're doing this, but now it's different. Now I sound probably better. I don't cross the streams. There it is. Ian's head is where all jokes go to die. Is that what I just read? What are you talking about? How dare you? How dare you? That's kind of true. Talk dirty to us. Ooh, you like that chop, don't you? Ooh, chop. Don't you want to get a little bit of this? hot angle on it, don't you? Yeah, you can't wait till I reset my router. Ooh, I'm gonna renew your IP. Yeah, baby. Let me get in your LTE with my 5G. Ooh, you've never seen this kind of live. And if you want to go to adamandeve.com, you can use code Glory and get 50% off. But I'll guarantee you're gonna have 150% in in increasing of the. I don't think they do penis enlargement, so that's a scam. But like you could get it so good, and you need a restraining order. Is this illegal? Can they hear me? Oh, they can probably hear me. Hold on, I'm gonna stop. Okay, now I can. No, I don't know. Think they haven't rejoined. Okay, so they can't hear me. Hold on. Let me just refresh this. Are they still on the thing? Oh, he closed the thing. That's why. Cecil closed the thing. Hold on, everybody. He closed the thing, and the password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ian?
No, it's not.
Ian, are we there?
Just dang it.
Hello, Ian?
I did actually type in the password wrong.
No, are we not back?
Boop.
I see us moving.
1 second. Okay, we're getting them back in any
Ian
moment. Was it good for you, everybody? Because I had fun. I thought, I mean, if you're not ready to go, if it's not full,
it's working. Our audio's working.
And squealing, then I don't know what's happening.
Hey,
what's happening?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
Let me hold on. Yes.
Yay, we're back.
I'm in duplicate. I was in duplicate.
Were you entertaining the audience the whole time, Ian?
No, it was silent. It was all silent.
Wow.
They didn't. It was just
wow.
all silence.
Cecil, flip over to the chat. I want to see how he did.
Okay, let's take a look.
Let's see.
No.
Let's get a look.
No.
Guys, how did Ian do in our absence?
No.
How was it?
Don't be.
Let's see what happened.
It was bad.
Keep going. I'm almost there. Ian was totally professional.
Good. Dead silence. Please.
He made me hard.
They're gonna make me do this more.
I like when Ian talks dirty.
Okay, all right.
What's going on?
They're gonna make me do things. No.
I'm so hard.
Increase my workload.
Yikes. It was ass clenching. Okay, all right. No, it's
good.
Sounds good.
I don't know what happened while we were gone, but
okay, is it better now? Is it better now? Ian?
Yeah, it looks better.
Okay.
It looks and sounds better, right, everybody? Please tell me. 6 out of 10? I'll take it.
I gotta
6 out of 10?
I'm going to leave this thing. Hopefully that doesn't take us out.
I am wet and I'm a guy.
10 inches. Sorry.
All right. Let me go back to this because maybe people missed it. I'm going to do it real quick. So Chris Ward asked 3-part question about the guests. Favorite guests, which guest has the biggest impact on you and how you view the world, and who is the guest who you would love to have on the show, alive or dead? And I'm going to say alive and dead. So who's my favorite guest? And I said episode 600 has all my favorite guests on it. So go listen to that. Those are all my favorite guests. Guests that had the biggest impact on you and how you view the world. Sean Faircloth taught us we could do this. Like really genuinely. He was the first.
That's good.
He was the first person who reached out to us. He sent us a copy of his book and I was like, I'm like a person someone wants to talk to. Yeah. And then we did a good interview with him. We had an interview that I thought went really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do this. This is not because at first we didn't know if it was, we were just a couple of guys just bullshitting. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then who is the guest you would love to have on the show alive? And I'm doing alive and dead. Alive AOC. I'd love to talk to AOC. I'd love to hear what she has to say. I think she's a great. The other one, the dead, Thomas Jefferson. Is this a Christian nation? I only have one question. I genuinely only have one question. Is this a Christian nation? That's the only fucking thing I want to ask him and then kick him off my show. That's it. Thomas Jefferson.
You're gone.
Just one question.
God damn, those are fucking good answers. Holy shit.
What about you?
Well, fuck, now I feel like I got to change all my fucking answers. All right, so as far as like who's our favorite guest, that's tough. But I would harken back to Thomas Smith because that's a great.
Yeah.
He was like our first real connection that helped build community with us.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, I look back and I'm like, man, we talked to Thomas Smith. It's funny because we were looking at iTunes, and iTunes had this thing. It was like, I don't even know if they still have it. I haven't looked at iTunes. It's like, shit you also would like. We looked at our own show, and it's like, shit you might also like, Thomas and the Bible. And I thought, well, we'll reach out to that guy. And we were such small potatoes. We didn't know how small potatoes he was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't even know if we'll be able to get him on, And
Yeah.
he was like, I'll go on anything,
Yeah.
And then something, now we're friends.
Yeah.
And I look at that and it's like, that was the beginning of this thing that's become kind of our own
ecosystem.
corner of the world.
It's like our own little area. And we did a good job of fostering a lot of community.
We
around
did a
all
lot of that
We did
work.
a lot of
You
that
and I
work.
did a lot of that work.
A lot of that work.
And so how could I guess I feel like how could I say anything else? Because that was important to me.
Sure.
And like also like that dude literally introduced me to my wife.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
that's an important connection just in my life that I have. What was the second question?
Biggest
Sorry, I forgot.
impact. I guess maybe you kind of
Biggest
answered
impact.
that together.
Yeah, I guess it would still be the same. But
Yeah.
it's as far as like how you view the world, this is going to be made like Marsh is an important guy.
Yeah.
And I think like Marsh is important because that's a guy who's made a living making a difference as a skeptic.
Yeah.
So even though Marsh and I don't have much of a personal connection, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he lives another world away from me. So it's not like we go out and have drinks. But that's a guy who has made a life out of challenging bad ideas.
Yeah.
And then he's gotten laws changed.
Yeah.
He's made like
Nice,
there
amazing.
is
Yeah.
shit because Marsh exists in the world is different now.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that's
Yeah.
my friend.
Homeopathy.
That's a cool thing for
All
me.
that homeopathy
Yeah.
stuff getting canceled because of him is like amazing.
So
Yeah.
I think about that. I'm like, I know a guy who made a difference in the world.
Sure, yeah.
That makes me feel excited and like by proxy important,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
just
yeah.
think that's fun. So who's a guest that you would love to have on the show, alive or dead? And it's funny because I was like, my first joke, and then it's funny because then I watched this Ricky Gervais stand-up thing. I was gonna say Hitler because nobody ever says Hitler, And then I watched a Ricky Gervais thing, and he stole that same answer. So I don't know who I would want to have on the show, alive or dead. We've talked about like who our dream guests would be on the show, and my dream guests constantly change depending on what my interest do.
Adam Savage for a while.
Adam Savage was my guy for a
Yeah.
long time. Now,
Yeah.
like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't. Like right now, it depends on what I'm mad and worried about.
Yeah.
I'm worried about different shit. Like Adam Savage was cute and interesting like 5 years ago, but I think the world's changed and I feel more serious. Like today, like if I could get anyone on the show, it'd be Fauci.
Yeah.
I got questions.
Sure.
I want some answers.
Yeah.
No,
if you're whatever Barbaro, you won't get them.
I know
Get those answers.
I know
either.
you're not wrong.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
Yeah. Read Nicolette's question here.
Yeah, Nicolette says, in the past, people were buried with the items they would need in the afterlife. What would you want to be buried with so you could use it in the afterlife? Whose afterlife would be the most interesting to keep you entertained for all eternity? My answer is terrible.
Go ahead.
So what would I want to use for the whole afterlife? I'm going with my wife. Like, I don't want to be alone. That's the afterlife.
Right.
What am I going to pick? What thing am I going to pick to use? Like a PS5? That's outdated in like a few
I know.
years.
Does it get updated forever though? 'Cause
Right.
If it does, maybe.
The afterlife is billions of years long. I'm going to be like, fucking like 1,000 years from him, be like, fuck, my stupid fucking dreidel. You kidding me?
You know what I'd pick to take with me is a microphone, so that when the fucking EVP people come around, they can actually hear me.
That's good. You can
Because
fuck
they
with
don't have
them.
to turn the gain up.
That's
you know what I mean.
nice.
To hear the mouse fart in the room, I can actually just be like, "Hey guys, how you doing? How you guys doing?"
That's
over there?"
good.
My afterlife, the best afterlife out there, is a book. There's a book called the We Are Legion, We Are Bob, where the main character is an AI that is a von Neumann machine that creates himself. So he travels to a new star system, collects all the materials to create another version of himself, and then that version creates two and sends them off into the universe, and then they communicate with each other to like sort of talk about the universe and explore places. That would be the best afterlife because it's essentially after your life. I mean,
Right.
you're not, like I'm a computer now. That's the best afterlife out there.
So I thought about this question. I have two answers to it. So the best afterlife, and I mean this with all sincerity, so my real answer is none.
None.
I don't want to exist forever. Billions of years sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. It's funny because when I think of the idea of not existing anymore, I get all fucking worked up and scared, and I can't make it work in my mind. But just as scary
is
the idea of existing for
forever.
billions of years. Like that's
Absolutely.
a horror.
Just
that's
as
a
scary.
horror.
Just as
I don't
scary.
want that
Yeah.
at all. Also, to Cecil's, read the book Sum, spelled S-U-M. I can't remember off the top of my head who wrote it. It's fucking beautiful. All it is a series of short explorations of different ways the afterlife could be. And they're beautiful. I love that book. It's called S-U-M is the title of the book. I cannot remember for the life of me who the fuck wrote it. It's honestly wonderful, and it's an exploration of different ideas of the afterlife, none of which are the traditional idea.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's awesome.
This question is from, it doesn't say, I don't see it on the side. Maybe it's still Nicolette. Ian, what's the most expensive thing you broken? And Bowl of Piss Water asks, follow up, could you fix it?
I can't. My memory is probably blanking out on
what a dreams cost, Ian.
specific.
Yeah.
What a dreams cost.
Yeah, my wife's dreams. I mean, it would have to be a car that I totaled. Probably is the most. It's not that interesting.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
mean,
really not.
It's really not. I mean, I dropped a couple expensive mics, and they
survived.
could be fixed easily.
They survived.
Like
They
a lot of
survived.
them.
Okay.
And like, or it's like the tube blew. So it was like, technically it was like $8,000, but it was easily fixable. So it's like,
Jesus.
What the what?
Your
That's
answer has
not
so many
really-
things you've broken that cost 4 figures.
I know, no kidding, right?
The thing about Ian's
true.
answer that I love is that there is so many options.
Yeah, and the worst part is that he's a
Yes.
gremlin, so everything he touched breaks anyway.
Fucking right.
As evidenced by the stream like 3 minutes ago.
Jesus.
okay,
Ian.
I'm breaking chat's brain apparently because I'm not clicking the fucking super chats. Okay,
Oh.
here is super chat number 1: bourbon, scotch, or Malort.
What are we?
It's bourbon.
in
Even
terms
for
of
me,
things
it's
we
bourbon.
like?
Even for me, it's bourbon.
Just
Scotch
in
is
whatever.
wonderful, but bourbon is
Yeah,
bourbon's
for me
better.
that's easy. I would go bourbon, Malort, scotch, but I cannot stand scotch.
Yeah, I would do it the other way.
I
Malort's
can't.
the worst thing
I just
ever.
have a thing with
Yeah.
scotch. Scotch smell. The thing is, like, scotch smells like my mom. I don't like that.
Then we had, can we get a David Smalley sigh? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, we
Well,
get
we
them
have a
all the
new
time.
one.
Yeah.
Ian, can you just sigh?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
perfect.
that's our
Perfect.
David Smalley
That's our
sigh.
Small sigh.
Yeah, there we
Perfect.
go.
Any more?
God, that shit's old school, man.
there
No
was
one's,
one more.
no one's,
Hold on.
no one has thought about David Smalley in a long time.
Not even the comedy
Literally
venues that
nobody.
book him.
Is he still alive?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Jesus,
haven't
nobody-
spoke to him in a long time.
Jesus, that guy dropped off the face of the earth.
I'm really late, but the best album is Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. Okay.
All right, I'll accept it.
All right.
Tom, read this one.
I love that somebody
You have
paid to
read-
tell everybody what their favorite album
You have to
was.
read Sarah and then Sarah's answer. So go ahead.
All right, Sarah. If you were given a PhD degree but had no more knowledge of the subject of the degree besides what you have now, what degree would you want to be given to you?
That's a great question.
Sarah?
Sarah wrote her own answer because she put this whole
Did
thing
she
together.
ask the question?
No, whoever asked
Oh,
it.
did
it's
Bowl
this-
of Piss
still,
Water?
I think it's still Nicolette, actually.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. And Sarah's answer is pub trivia.
Degree of
I love that you'd have a PhD in pub
an
trivia.
honorary PhD in pub trivia is amazing.
And she explains by saying, I possess all the random knowledge no one needs to know. Also, sociology, behavioral psychology.
All right. So Lime Green Morpheus asks, who is the worst guest you ever had on the show? And why did they even make it into the
That's
recording?
tough.
We've had 4 worst guests.
Yeah.
One made it on air. I'm not saying who it was. One made it to Patreon. People can go listen. It's the Republican atheist. I hung up on her. She was genuinely the worst person. And then 2 that I'm not going to tell you. We never aired them.
Yeah, it'd be mean to say
who
they
it
are.
is. The Republican atheist one, though, I'm willing to say I hated that lady. She was a total idiot, and I hung up on her, and she deserved it.
Yes.
And I took that terrible interview because she was a complete moron.
Yep.
And I put it on Patreon if you want to hear it, so if patrons can hear it. It's genuinely not worth 20 minutes because she doesn't say anything except for Fox News talking points. And then when she starts getting anti-Semitic, I hang up the phone on her.
Yep.
So it's really not even that interesting. But we had a couple that never aired. So we had 2, one person in studio guest and one person on that we interviewed over Skype.
Oh, God.
And we did not use either one of those tapes. We threw those tapes away. And then another then one made it to air, and I'm not saying who that is, but it was
terrible.
It was a
I know the one you're talking
It was
about.
genuinely.
We don't
not
want
a
to hurt
great-
anyone's
We don't want to hurt
feelings.
anybody's feelings.
So, but I will say that one of the ones that didn't make it to the air, it didn't make it to the air because they just had a voice that for audio was unpleasant.
It was hard to hear.
Yeah,
it was genuinely hard to hear and understand.
Difficult.
It was very difficult.
So Cecil and I got this person, and they were an interesting guest on paper, and they had a lot of interesting things to articulate and to say, and it would have been nice. But honestly, for audio, we looked over at each other like we immediately like you're like, this can't go to the air.
It was not only a bad Skype recording.
Yeah.
It was also they also had a voice that did not mesh well.
It was
with
very
the
hard to
sounds, very hard to
understand
him.
So that makes it a tough guess because you're just like, fuck, I can't get your point across.
Bowl of Piss Water asks, besides making podcasts, what are your hobbies? And the follow-up question by Bowl of Piss Water is, do you want to know the origin of my screen name? I'm going to say this, Bowl of Piss Water. Would I be sorry if I asked? That's the question.
I will say this, Bowl of Piss Water. I don't.
No.
I like that remaining a mystery. You know why? Because I get to fill in those blanks.
Yeah.
You don't get to own those blanks,
right.
Bowl of Piss Water.
Yeah.
Those are my blanks.
Speaking of bowls of piss water, what are your hobbies?
Oh, man. Fuck. You know, Cecil and I talked about this while I was eating. I actually feel bad. I don't have any, I work out. But that's not really a hobby. I don't think I would call that a hobby. I write, but I don't know if that's a hobby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a couple of podcasts. They take up a lot of time. I've got a full-time job. I got a family. I try to get some writing done occasionally. I work out every day or almost every day. And there's not enough hours left. I'm done. I'm tapped out, guys.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I took the family out, so I work out almost every day too.
Yeah.
I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then I also on my off time will play video games, or I used to fence. I haven't fenced in a couple of years because the COVIDs, so I haven't fenced in a couple of years. I haven't gone to practice or anything because you have to wear a mask on a mask, and it's very difficult for me to do activity in a mask because I sweat and then it gets on my face and I feel like you're waterboarding yourself, so it's very difficult to do. So I haven't done it. So I haven't done that. I also cook, so that's a hobby of mine, but it's not really a hobby because I just use it to subsist too. So like you say, it's hard to pick.
Yeah, how many hours you have? I used to make my own beer.
Yeah,
back. I mean, but fuck, I don't have time for that shit.
All right, Mike B's question.
There it is. If you could purge anyone from the atheist movement, who would it be and why?
I think we have the same answer for this one. It's not a person. I'm going to name a person, but it's a person like this person, Sargon. Anybody like Sargon? I think that those types of people that are mean to be mean for no reason. They don't learn from any of the bad things that they do. Tom and I were mean when we first started, and we learned a lot about empathy, and we learned a lot about how your voice can hurt people, and we changed our actions. And I don't think I've ever seen him do that. I haven't paid attention to him in the last 2 years, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But at least from what I saw in a couple years ago, he was an awful person who relished that awfulness. And there's a lot of people who are like that in the atheist movement. So I'd just be like, get rid of all those people. I don't need any of them.
It's funny because I struggled. I thought of a bunch of different answers for this, but my answer is like, any of those fucking big name misogynists, man.
Yeah.
And I say the big name ones because so many of the fucking thought leaders in the atheist movement were fucking white dudes who used their, it's a bullshit fake tiny
fame.
celebrity.
Yeah,
like if you're fucking excited about the celebrity you have in the atheist movement, fucking get a grip on that fucking word celebrity.
Yeah.
Giant poser. But there are fucking dorkwads who use that to prey on women. And I found, and it just
get rid of all of them.
It poisoned.
Get rid of all of them.
And I mean, how much did that poison? Like when this thing first kind of got its legs, there were the conferences and there was this energy to it, and it was fun and it was inclusive. And then we started hearing all these stories about how people didn't feel welcome. They didn't feel safe. And I was like, fuck, why do you got to ruin it?
Yeah.
Like someone will fuck you voluntarily.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. It's fucked up.
God,
it's fucked up.
Made me so mad.
Let's see. There's a follow-up question there for Cecil. When you are editing citation needed, who do you have to edit the most? I have to edit myself the most. And I have to edit myself the most. Yeah, because I read aloud really terribly. And our show is scripted. There's a lot of script. So we write ahead of time. And I am terrible at reading things aloud. I'm just really bad at it. I've always been bad at it my whole life. My brain puts words in where they don't belong, or it mixes words order up, and I just can't stop myself no matter. I have to read our script 3 or 4 times before I actually read it because I'm so bad at reading things aloud. So I am the one who I edit the most. I edit myself the most in that whole show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Cecil.
so I edit.
That surprises me.
So if you hear when you hear me reading an essay, if I'm the one who's speaking the most, the edits in that are intense. I have to edit myself very much because I'm always going back to say something else. Eli's probably second. So because Eli will just say something that...
Yeah, Eli, you got to edit for... I was going to ask you a follow-up. Like, who do you edit for content?
It's Eli, because Eli will mention something that isn't part of the thing. And so like to him, all podcasts are together. And sometimes if you're hoping to get people that are like new or something, that doesn't work. So and they won't get the reference.
Blur those boundaries.
They won't get the reference to D&D minus 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And so it's just, you got to cut that.
The problem is that Eli doesn't understand space and time.
Yeah, no, he really doesn't.
And I love him, but he doesn't.
He really doesn't.
Yeah.
Neve asks, I've always been curious about Gary. Where did Gary come from? What Gary actually is besides adorable yet creepy. I'd love to hear the backstory. So years ago, my wife was browsing eBay and she came across this mannequin. It was a used mannequin on eBay, and she called that Tom's then ex-wife, current ex-wife, not then ex-wife, current ex-wife,
forever ex-wife,
ex-wife, called his ex-wife and said, "Hey, I have this thing I want to buy. Do you guys want to go in halvesies?" And she had said yes, and so my wife got into a bidding war over this thing.
Yeah.
And at the time it was expensive, $150 or something like that. It was an expensive little mannequin. And then when we got it, we shared custody. We would give it back and forth.
I remember, I think, if I remember right, and I could, it's been so many years, but if I remember right, I think that all started from a conversation that we all had together, because I had this fucking hate on for Christmas, and it was all consumerism, and we should, instead of decorating a Christmas tree, just decorate a goddamn mannequin.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get a mannequin. I'm gonna decorate a mannequin instead of a Christmas tree. And it kind of, and I don't remember if that's why she looked up mannequins or not, but I know it was around the same time, because I had this whole fucking thing about how I was gonna get rid of my Christmas tree, and I was gonna hang ornaments from a mannequin as a symbol of, my fucking whatever protest against consumerism. And then there was this fucking mannequin that looked like a goddamn horror show. And it was like, I don't care what that costs. I'm pitching in half.
Yeah.
I don't like.
And we split the cost.
And we had no money at the time.
And we did. Yeah, we were
like, that's the funny
broke.
thing, guys.
Yeah.
Like $75. You're like, fucking
$75 is a lot of money.
Holy shit.
It's a rice and beans week.
Yeah, you're like, I'll make other sacrifices to have
a mannequin,
this gape mouth fucking
mannequin. And then we shared it. I would have it for a couple months, and then
I would have it for a
couple months.
Yep.
Yeah. So Big Jim asked a question.
For both hosts, you made fun of most of my favorite bands. Some of my favorite moments, actually. What are some of your favorite songs or artists? So I feel like we answered a similar question up above. So
I mean, I would say my favorite genre is recently has been synthwave, which is music that sounds like it's from the 80s, but it's not from the 80s, and it's really.
I was going
to
ask you what synthwave was.
It's a fun. It's got those synthesizers in it, so a lot of it is very synthesizer based, and it's got those sort of like deep analog sounds, and it's got it's just modern lyrics and modern people making it. So if you've ever seen the show Stranger Things, the soundtrack is synthwave.
Okay.
So if it sounds like the 80s, but it's not the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
It's really fun.
So I don't know. I mean, I've been listening to The Weeknd a lot. Like
Weeknd's, that's a great album.
I love The Weeknd,
Yeah.
so I've been listening to that a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Do you like Vaporwave, Cecil?
I would have to hear it to know it. I don't know if I know.
Yeah.
Do you like Vaporwave, Ian?
Yes.
Do you listen to it on your one wheel?
I have. Damn it. It's kind of like, it's weird. It's they filter it, and it sounds like music you would hear in the 80s in a mall.
Oh, I got to listen to that. That sounds like fun.
Kind
That sounds
of,
like fun.
because they do a thing to it. Anyway, it's not like true of everything, but it's very similar. There's also a super chat if you
Go
can
ahead.
see.
Yeah.
Any chance you guys will come to the UK again? Missed you last time. By the way, it's 4 a.m. here and I'm goosed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I'd love to.
if we
Yes, I'm
do
drunk.
if we do a citation needed, Tom and I said if we do a citation needed, if they invite us at QED to do a citation
I would do that in a
needed,
second.
we would go over and do it.
Yep.
John says, what stops you from doing this full time, and opposite, what actually makes you want to do this? And then Tom has a question afterwards. So I'll answer this one first. The thing that stops me from doing this full time is the guarantee of the industry going to be here. You know, I know it's old enough. It's been here for 15 years, but the guarantee, I mean, like I'm in higher ed. That's going to be here tomorrow. You know, the next big thing could come along and move podcasts along. And so I'm very leery of that. It's a great fallback. So like if I lost my job, I would almost certainly do it full time until I found my feet again.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I ever think of, that I would want to do full time, because of its sort of transience, you know what I mean?
It's not certain.
Yeah.
You know, my answer to this question is actually is part and parcel of the second question. So what makes you want to do this? 97% of the reason that I do this is because I like to come over to Cecil's house or studio or whatever on Thursdays.
Yeah.
That's
it.
what I like to do.
That's it.
I want to have a conversation with Cecil. I want to hang out. I want to spend time with my friend. I want to talk about things that matter to me.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, same.
like that's mostly why I do it.
Yeah.
And like to make this my full-time job, I worry it wouldn't feel the same.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
We talked about this
Yeah.
a long time. I remember, I'll never forget, we were on a train together and we were talking like
Going to Glasgow.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had a moment where we could have maybe made a choice.
Yeah.
You know, and decided on a path. And we decided not to do that, because if we made a choice to make this a full-time job, it might change our relationship and our friendship. It might change the way we feel about doing the show. And these things are kind of sacred to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to make changes to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, there's a question about dangerous letters here.
Yeah, I'm about to be a first-time dad. Other than your awesome dangerous letters, thank you. Do you have any advice for me? I do, but it's not what you expect. I have 2 pieces of advice. The first is very practical. Almost all the shit they tell you to buy, you don't need. So you're going to register for 10,000 fucking baby things, and Ian, you can pitch in if you want. You don't need 86% of them. Mm-hmm. You're going to find out that you use 4 of those things. I never used a stroller for either one of my boys ever, not one time ever. Other people love them, but your mileage will vary. You will have a collection of fucking chintzy plastic shit that you don't need. You don't need most of that shit. Babies are durable little fuckers. They are not these like precious little China dolls that break as soon as you look at them. There's 7 billion of us for a reason. We're tough and durable. The other piece of advice I would give you is spend time with your spouse. I think about this all the time with my wife. The most important thing that I do as a step parent and as a parent is have a good relationship with my wife. I have a wonderful relationship with my wife. That helps me be a better parent. So you cannot let one thing slide in favor of the other. That's essential. Don't lose yourself in parenting. If you lose yourself in parenting, bad shit will happen in your life. Don't do that.
And the next question is from Sake. I don't know if I'm saying that. Seiki. Hey, Tom, I love the stuff you write for your children. I've been wondering how do you differentiate between your role as a parent and your role as a step parent?
That's super complicated. It would be a super long answer. It's those are wildly different roles. Like my relationships with my kid, they're wildly different roles. What I'll say to this, I read this question. I could talk for a long time about this, and I don't want to. They're both important roles. If you're in either one of those roles, I encourage you to think about who you want to be as a parent. I encourage you to spend time thinking about who you want to be as a step parent, what your responsibilities in both of those arenas are, and what your influence with both of those relationships should look like, and be intentional about them. Be intentional about who you are as a step parent the same way you are intentional about who you are as a parent. Anything else would be, there's too many variables.
Kelly asks, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, if you had 1 hour to teach a critical thinking lesson to kids, what would you focus on? Cecil?
Confirmation bias.
That's a great
100%,
answer.
100% talk about confirmation bias. I think you can explain it good in an hour, and I think those kids would understand it, I think, and if you could plant that early, it's great.
Yeah, that's a great answer. God, that's a good answer. You know, my answer before you answered, because we didn't confer on this beforehand. You know, my answer was going to be digital literacy.
Yeah.
I just think it's fucking essential right now.
Yeah.
It just is.
Batty asks, how's Haley doing? Is the mystery ailment resolved or diagnosed? Tom, do you want to?
Just as a quick aside, so many people have sent so many kind messages. That's so nice of you guys to care. It really is. I appreciate it. The outpouring of support's been great. Haley, if I were to draw a graph, I said this earlier today in another comment to a doctor. If I were to draw a graph, it's on the upward swing. Day to day, it's still tough. So day to day, it's still rough going. But if I were to draw a line, that line would trend upward, and I'm intensely grateful for that. As far as whether or not we have answers, I think we're getting very, very close to having answers, and I think we have a better care team than we have had for the last 13 months.
That's great to hear.
Thank you guys. It's so nice of you.
Grassy Knoll Man asks you, Tom, what literary work was most influential?
Most influential. So when I read this question, I was trying to, it's like, because that's different than like, what did you like the most?
Yeah.
You know, this answer is going to be stupid. When I was a freshman in my biology class, there was a kid named Zach, who I'm still friends with on Facebook and who I still know. And he wrote poetry. And I remember reading his poetry, and I remember thinking, holy shit, people can just write. So is my friend Zach. And I mean that because it changed my life.
That's
because
great.
I remember thinking, anybody can just write.
That's great.
Anybody.
Yeah. And
it changed my life because I immediately went home and started writing.
Yeah.
And I wrote different things than I had written before. Before I had written stories. And I'm a mediocre story writer. I'm probably a mediocre poet, but I'm more prolific. You know?
More. Yeah. Do more.
I'll also say, like, I remember reading a collection of essays, and I remember thinking, fuck, you can just write essays and collect them. Yeah. And that's its own thing.
That's its own thing, yeah.
And I like to write essays. I am a man who loves to write, but I don't have a book in me.
Yeah.
I don't have a full, like, we collaborated on a book. I couldn't write a book by myself. I don't have a whole book in me.
Sure.
And so that has always stymied me. But short pieces, I'm full of short pieces.
Yeah. This one's to me, what has been the most memorable culinary experience you have ever had? The two that come to mind are, I had dinner on the beach in Puerto Rico with a couple, a friend of ours, and that was amazing. And then that same couple in Barcelona on a rooftop. And those two moments, the food was excellent. And I kind of remember what I had, but it was just the being in those places was just unreal. It was really amazing. So that, if that's the question you're asking, then yeah, they were culinary experiences and they were super memorable. And I was going to say, like, every time I've eaten at like Maple and Ash and Publican have been amazing culinary experiences every single time. So like if we're talking about food wise, those two places have been, and I've eaten in like the best restaurant in New York and it doesn't compare. So
it's not questions, not to me. I'm going to answer it real quick anyway. This isn't bullshit. The most memorable culinary experiences I've ever had were in your kitchen, in your house in Morris. I'm not bullshitting you. They were. There's some such stupid shit, but like I grew up, the nicest restaurant I ever went to was the Olive Garden. And my dad cooked for utility. So, and we never made things like cakes or cupcakes or whatever.
Sure.
And I remember going to your house. I'll tell you a couple of meals that you don't remember that I remember. I remember at your apartment, you had an apartment, and I remember, and you made me a pasta dish with sausage, and it was in an apartment that you had, and you almost certainly don't remember this. And I remember thinking, holy shit, he just made this? You can just make this?
Yeah.
And it was outstanding. And then we had scotch and cigars on your balcony, and it was this whole night, and it was just extraordinary. And I remember thinking, I want to do the same thing. I want to make food for people. I want to be a guy who can make food for people.
Yeah.
And then I was at your house, your first house that you owned, and You made French onion soup. I'll never forget that French onion soup.
If I find veal bones, I'll make it again.
I will never forget
if
it.
I find veal bones, I'll make it
And I remember
again.
the first time, Cecil, that you showed me fresh herbs. This is a stupid thing, but I'd never seen fresh herbs before.
Oh, you'd always seen like in the like dried herbs.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
yeah.
my dad only my
why
dad
would you?
only ever used
Why would you?
Morton's Nature
Yeah.
Seasoning is the only thing we had.
I didn't know that you could get like when I grew up. I didn't know you could get dill at the supermarket.
Yeah, I'd never seen fresh
Didn't
herbs
know because
until I was
my mom only used parsley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was it.
my dad literally only ever used Morton's Nature Seasoning.
Hilarious.
So I'd never seen them before.
Jesus
and you're like, here's thyme. And I'm like, the fuck you're putting like leaves and shit in here? Blew my mind, guys. Blew my fucking mind.
This next one is from a mail lady. She says, I would love for you guys to officially name me your favorite mail lady. You have been duly dubbed our favorite mail lady. There you go. Okay. Patrick has a question here. Tom, do you see it? Is it up there?
Yeah, Patrick asks, why do you think so many people become conservative as they age?
I would say rich people become conservative. I would say the more wealth you have. I think that we're running into a different time in America where people that are aging into, you know, their 40s now, the millennials that are like now creeping up on 40, if they're, I think they are close to, they don't have a lot of wealth. And I don't think they're going to turn conservative because conservatism is for people who are wealthy. And that's what I think, that's what I think is the trigger. I think traditionally in our country, the older you got, the more wealth you had. And so technically you would become, but I think that was a byproduct of the wealth. I don't think it was a byproduct of the age.
Yeah, I would say this two-part answer quickly. One, people want to protect what they have. As they have more, they want to protect it. So financially, they become more conservative. I also think that people do become more socially conservative.
That's possible.
And I think they become more socially conservative because they stop being educated. They stop educating themselves as an intentional process as they get older.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
We got a couple super chats.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Do those real quick. From Mason, I think it should show up in a second. Hey guys, got my concealed carry permit today in Washington State. And thought of you. I had to get a background check.
Oh, Jesus.
But the only education was a pamphlet.
Yeah, so you need
Was what?
pamphlet.
A pamphlet.
No, that's plenty.
Pamphlet.
That's
Jesus.
plenty. You're fine. In fact,
Totally fine.
Dr. Barton would let you carry a nuke. So
Yeah,
that's
right.
fine.
Yeah, you can have a
you read the
fucking
pamphlet. You read the
Black Hawk
pamphlet. You
tack
read the
helicopter
pamphlet.
or
You're fine.
whatever.
Here's the next one from Nalivai, I think. Will you come to the upcoming QED if we ask really, really nicely?
You got to
You know,
ask
what
the
if we ask
organizers really nice.
right. Yeah.
Not us.
rudely? Yeah.
All right.
When is it a QED?
I don't even know when one's happening. I thought they canceled the one that was
thought they
happening.
did
I
too.
thought they stopped. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. And the next one is New York pizza a foldable pizza or a Grease River taco?
A Grease River taco.
That is exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
it's
It is
really
100% a
expensive.
Grease River taco. It is 100%.
I would.
That is exactly what it
I
is.
don't
Yes.
get it.
Yes. That is exactly what it is.
I don't get it. I want to get it. I don't get it.
We got along. I'm going to summarize this question. So this question is from Dr. Shapiro's Dry Ass P Word. Basically, look, if someone in your family is sort of falling down a conspiracy rabbit hole, what can you do? Like, is there something you can do? And I don't have a good answer to this one. I genuinely don't have a good answer to this one. I don't know because it's so tough nowadays because of the polarization in our society, how you even have a conversation with that person without making them feel attacked, even if you're being super nice.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the relationship you have with that person and how close you are. The only thing I would suggest is that if you're really, really close to somebody, and I don't know if this would work because this has never happened, so I've never tried it, but leverage your trust.
Yeah.
And, try to build some bridges that way. I don't fucking know.
It's tough. It's tough.
I wish I knew.
We're at a time now where the it doesn't work. I would say maybe follow Anthony Magnabosco's, ask a bunch of questions and see if you can get them to finally get to the point where they say, holy shit.
Yeah.
But
I will say, sometimes if you ask good questions, people will get stuck.
Yeah. And that might help. Sticking them might help. We got a question from Fred. And Fred says, he says, basically, he's sitting with a bunch of different people and Germans and Americans. And he said, look, what would have happened if they would have basically seized voting machines or whatever? what would happen. And Fred said he'd pick up arms and do something. And his question essentially is, do you ever think about things like that? Like that it could have been down to, genuinely could have been like Civil War 2.0.
Yeah.
Because of that I think about it all the time.
Do you?
Because I know people on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I know people that would be on the other side of those gun sites. And it scares the shit out of me because I thought I knew them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I thought we were close, but they're in another world that I'm not in. And if their reality matters so much that they would want to take over the government,
Would you take up arms?
I don't think I'd flee.
Yeah, I guess, I read Fred's question and I thought, God, I don't even understand the question fully. Like, there's a David Rakoff bit where he talks about like when he was trying to fill out a form and asks like it's for citizenship. And he's filling out this form and it's like, if called to defend the Constitution or whatever, would you take up arms? And he thought, no, I don't ever want to pick up a gun and hurt anybody. And then, he put his application for citizenship away to think about it. And then he came back to it later and he said, well, I'm like a 50 or 40 some year old, pudgy homosexual. Like if it comes down to me,
yeah,
like it's all grass soup anyway.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's a good point. That's a really good point.
No one's coming knocking on my door saying, sign up. There's a civil war.
Yeah.
So would I take up arms though in a guerrilla fashion? And my answer to that is no.
Yeah.
Because I have an obligation to my family. Now, if I didn't have 4 kids to take care of, my answer might be different. It might be different. But I have 4 kids to take care of, and I've got to keep them going for another 15 years.
Right. Yeah. Kaya asks, what is something your fans do that you can't fucking stand? What's something your fans don't do enough that you wish they would? I'm going to tell you 2 things that drive me nuts. One is you automatically presume and have an uncharitable version of what I said. So you'll take the most uncharitable version of what I've said and try to throw it back at me. Like making it sound like I was anti-trans or something. You know what I mean? Like doing something like that when they know, like through my body of work, I'm not like that. It's just like, but they hear something in there and they've got to spin on it and take the most uncharitable take. The other thing that makes me crazy is when somebody doesn't actually listen to what you're saying. They have a pet issue in their brain that is spinning. And so if you mention their pet issue, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the 100% exact take as them, they will send you a fiery, shitty email about how wrong and stupid you are. And we've gotten hundreds of these emails about pet issues where they didn't listen to what we had to say. They've misquoted us, and then they've just attacked us. And and I'm always blown away because I'm always like, that was like a throwaway line or something. Like, why are you so freaked out about this? And that happens a lot. So those are the 2 things, I think.
Yeah, I think, what is something fans of ours do that I can't fucking stand? When you listen and you're not a patron.
That's a great one.
I had to.
That's a great one.
I had to.
That's a great one. Something your fans don't do enough that you wish they would. Like and rate us and share us. Those are the things. Those are things I would like you to do. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's honestly, just rate us everywhere that you can.
And share us. Share us with your friends. Like that's awesome.
That means a lot.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to read these really quick. WC asks, Cecil, I love your cooking videos. What are the top 5 or 10 mistakes people make when cooking at home? I'm going to give you 5. Dull knives, number 1. Dull knives are the worst thing you can have in your kitchen. Go buy one of those sharpeners that you just drag through, even if that's it. But I recently bought stones, and my knives are fucking laser sharp now. I bought like the big wide
good for you,
stones.
yeah.
I learned how to use them. I watched a bunch of videos. I figured it out, and they are fucking laser sharp now. And you could just, like, a dull knife will slide. It'll cut into you. It's terrible. Don't need dull knives. Serve things hot. That's one thing you gotta plan your meal out. Like if you're gonna serve somebody, plan your meal out ahead of time and look at what's gonna be done and when it's gonna be done, and plan it out and then prep your stuff. So like if you're gonna make a vegetable, you can always blanch and shock it ahead of time and then heat it up when it's ready to eat. You don't have to cook it all fully and then wait for it to get cold. And if you're gonna serve a bunch of people, and you're gonna have them at your house, heat your plates, put them in the oven at 170, and then the plate is hot, and then when you put food on it, it will stay hot for them, so that a bunch of people standing in line or trying to get food I can't tell you how many times I've been over Thanksgiving at my in-laws, and it's like everybody's standing in line with these big plates, and by the time you get to sit down, everything's cold. Everything's ice cold because you're standing in line at this big long line. I put my turkey on the plate, but now once I get to go to sit down, everything's cold. If you got a nice warm plate, it'll at least stay warm for a while. Rest your beef after it was cooked. For crying out loud, there's so many times people serve you a steak and you cut into it and it just gushes all over. Let it sit for 5 minutes. It's unbelievable. No, you got to season properly. I can't tell you how many times I've been in somebody else's kitchen and they don't know how to use salt. You just put a little salt on there. Taste it. Don't use too much. You can't take salt away, but you got to put a little bit on there. And my final one is always trust the recipe at least one time. The recipe was written for a reason. There's very few cooks in the world that can look at a recipe, analyze it, and say, I know exactly what everything in this recipe is doing. They exist, right? I mean, I imagine I could hand a recipe to Jacques Pepin and he could look at it and say, I could take this out and exchange this. But for the most part, people, especially not professionals, can't just do that. So do a recipe one time, maybe do a recipe 2 times, and then if it sucks and you don't really like it and you think you can change it, try to change it, try to pull things out. But at least try it a couple times the way it was written. Don't try to change it before you ever even make it. That's one thing you run into. People are just like, well, I just added asparagus. And you're just like, well, but
what?
Why? Why did you do that?
God.
Tom, here we go. This next one is Sarah.
The fiance and I were watching your last live stream and trying to figure out what watches you wear. We are watch collectors, and we were just wondering if you are too. So the question we have is, are you watch guys?
So I wear a watch that my wife got me several years ago. It's a Garmin like Fitbit type thing, and it just matches takes care of all the data and puts it on my phone, which is nice to look at. It makes me feel good. So I wear that all the time. Tom bought me a watch this year, but I haven't had a chance to wear it yet because I haven't been out. But
I bought him a nice watch to wear when the world turns back
changes.
on. It was a hopeful present.
But I'm looking forward to wearing it. But those are the only 2 watches I own.
Yeah, I have a lot of watches. I love watches. My wife buys me watches for gifts. I buy myself watches from time to time. I don't get like crazy expensive watches. I have a handful of nicer, what you would consider like mid-end watches, like nothing crazy. I don't have any Rolexes or tags or anything along those lines. But like today, I've got I always mispronounce it. I think it's Bulova, but I always pronounce it Bulova. And this is a mock-up.
Oh, that's cool.
Of the first digital watch ever made.
Love
so
it.
they actually
Looks
made
great.
the first digital watch, and this is a replica of that watch.
That's hilarious.
So I like things that are a little unique. It kind of is, but I love it anyway. I wear them just as fashion pieces.
Sure. Yeah.
So I do have probably 15, 20 watches or so, and they range from I've got like Citizens, a Movado, Bulova. I got a couple of Burberry watches. I get watches on Poshmark.
Okay.
It's a great place.
People just get rid of them.
Yeah, you can get watches sometimes brand new on Poshmark for 25% of the list price if you're just careful and you look.
All right, so this question comes from As Good As Blank. Tom Cecil, what inspired you to write a book? Tell us about your process in creating it. The book got started during the election last year. So during the election, right after the election was when we started it. So it was started writing it in the end of November, and then it was mostly written by February.
Yeah.
And so and then we've been working on it back and forth, getting it to editors, and Tom and I work, so that was most of the time that it was put together.
Yeah, the process was great. So, I mean, the process was really, fairly collaborative. So Cecil would write something and I would read it and we'd talk about it and make suggestions to each other back and forth. Tom
would do the same. He'd write something and he'd send it to me. And so there was a lot of back and forth that went through.
The whole thing was a wonderful collaborative process. Years ago, we had tried to write a book.
Yeah.
And what we did is Cecil wrote a chapter, I wrote a chapter. Cecil wrote a chapter, I wrote a chapter. And it kind of petered out.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that one petered out because it didn't have enough reason to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it didn't have the sort of staying power.
Sure.
So, and this feels more, it just feels more ultimately collaborative.
Yeah.
Than I did a thing, you did a thing.
Yeah.
I did a thing, you did a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And I had to write a little bit ahead of time because I knew myself if I didn't put something on paper and if I just said I was going to do something, I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
And so there had to be something that I actually approached Tom with it. So I wrote part of it before I approached Tom, and I handed it off to Tom, and Tom said, yeah, we can collaborate on this. But it was something that I had to put down on paper first because I was very afraid that I would say I would write a book and then I would never do it.
And it's funny too, because then Cecil was like, you need deadlines.
It is
because it's true.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
it's 20 years of knowing somebody.
And also when we work, you know, we have full-time jobs. We do 2 podcasts. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions. These come from Facebook. So those were all patrons before. Last 2 we're ending with patrons here. This one, or ending with Facebook. I would like to hear how you met both your wives. Did you bribe them to marry you? This is from Brenda. This is one of the things I don't like when fans say. So I wanted to call this out a little. This is one of those things that kind of drives me nuts. It's like, hi, man, you're really punching up there, Cecil, or you're punching up above your weight class, or how'd you bribe her to marry you? I kind of hate it. I kind of genuinely hate it.
You're ugly and your wife is not.
I know you're
shit.
I know you're complimenting my wife, but you're also putting me down at the same time.
I know.
So it's like it's a little bit of a blow. So I'm not crazy about that part of the question. So I wanted to call you out a little bit before I answer. I met my wife at a party. Tom was at that party. Tom got really drunk on
first time I was ever
cider
drunk.
Or something like
Hornsberry
that.
draft apple cider.
Hornsberry cider. Tom found it in the. Tom didn't have party etiquette. Found it in the fucking fridge. Just said, "Oh, there's a cider," and then he drank all of them.
I drank all of somebody's cider.
All of someone's
within
cider.
like 7 minutes.
And then Tom got very sick and had to be taken home.
Yeah.
But Tom knew my wife before I knew my wife.
Yeah.
They were in a class together, a speech class together. I saw her hanging out with another friend of ours. And so he introduced us actually. And so when he introduced us, we hung out that night. Sarah and I talked, and then funny enough, I lost my boot. So it was a big party. It was one of these big house parties. And when I left, I could not find my boot. My boot was nowhere to be found. It was literally missing.
I don't know this part.
It was literally missing. So I left the house and I was like, well, fuck, I got to hop out to the car. I had these tanker boots that I loved, and I had to hop out the car. And I'm like, well, I'll just take one. So I hopped out to the car. A week later, I ran into Sarah at college, and she had my boot. She had gotten it from the girl who had thrown the party, and she gave it back to me. And I asked for Sarah's number, and I took her out to coffee. So we met that's how we met. So we met at a party one night.
I didn't know the boot part.
But the boot, that was the follow-up.
That's so funny.
That's how we found each other afterwards. Yeah.
I didn't know the boot part. So that's so funny. I can't believe I didn't know that after like 20 million years of knowing you. I met Haley actually through Thomas Smith. So Haley worked for a while for Thomas Smith. Thomas Smith and I were friends. And then, Haley was single and I was single, and Thomas Smith just kind of reached out to me one day and said, hey, I think you guys make a lot of sense. You guys should just connect with each other. And so I sent Haley a message, funny enough, on Facebook Messenger. She did silks and acrobatic stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, never reached out to somebody out of the blue on Facebook. But I did. And, she was good enough to respond and not reject me immediately. And then I hated Facebook, and I wanted just to talk to her. So I was like, hey, you should give me your phone number. And I started talking to her. And from the minute I started talking to her, we kind of never put the phone down. And then she moved from New York to Chicago.
Short time after that, pretty much.
Well, yeah, very much so. Yeah, so I was very lucky.
Danny, this is the last question. Danny asks, do you find it difficult to navigate your style of humor as society becomes more sensitive to people's issues? We all know that comedy isn't dead because of woke culture. You guys do a great job of towing the line and being aware if you step over it. Comedy is all about pushing boundaries. It can be transgressive. It's all about pushing those boundaries. And sometimes you overstep those boundaries. You don't realize you hurt somebody. Some people take a joke that you make about something and they make it about themselves.
Yeah.
And they beat themselves up about it. That's very common thing that happens. And we'll have to, I've written several messages to people that said that joke wasn't about you. I was making a joke. I realize that sometimes when you joke around a topic, somebody takes it to heart. In fact, very recently, we got a very scathing message from someone who was very upset that we talked about John Lennon's death.
Yeah.
They were upset that we talked about John's. In fact, they told us to delete that show.
Yeah.
They said we need to delete the show where we talked about John Lennon's death on Citation Needed. And I sent him back a message. I said, I'm really sorry that this moment in history touches you so much. And that, that even joking around the subject, because we never were like, ha ha ha, John Lennon's dead.
No, that would be a fucked up thing to do.
That's what I think a lot of people don't get about comedy is like, if you make a joke around rape, someone says that's a rape joke.
Yeah.
And that's like immediate condemnation. And it's like, there can be some jokes that happen around there in the proximity of it that aren't ha ha ha, this happened to you.
Yes.
And so people misunderstand that. And so what happened with this was they misunderstood that we never once, were ridiculing anything. In fact, we were just pointing out the absurdity of the assassin.
Right.
But they didn't, that's not something some people want to hear. So what you just have to say is, I'm sorry that you were hurt by that. I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry you were hurt by that. And sometimes it's okay to say, I will still continue to make that joke.
Yeah. I first of all, thank you for thinking we do a great job towing the line.
Yeah.
Cecil does a great job editing the show. So, I will say that there are times because, we're spitballing sometimes and we're just kind of throwing stuff against the wall occasionally to see what sticks. It's an off the cuff show.
Yeah.
So, I think you give us more credit than certainly I am due. I think I'm more guilty of crossing that line inadvertently than Cecil is.
We've gotten better over the years.
We've gotten better.
And the live streams help. They help us get better.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. But I will also say it's actually not hard for the most part to not be offensive. That's kind of a bullshit misnomer. Because most people, again, with some exceptions, so take your exceptions, set them off to the side. But most people understand who the butt of a joke is.
Yeah.
And if the butt of the joke is the aggressor, almost everyone lets you go on it. Now, again, to Cecil's point, there might be a handful of people that are like, whoa, that subject is off limits. But I put that in a category called, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't care. You know what I mean by I don't care. Like, I care that you're hurt, but I also don't feel like I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by I don't care. So it's not hard to tell jokes in a woke culture. There are plenty of terrible people who are doing harm in
Punching
the world.
up is easy.
That's a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough targets out there. Like, the entire Republican Party.
The other thing, too, is like Tom and I will talk about punching up, but there's some people who just genuinely don't like punching.
Right.
They don't want punching.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we'll look at cat videos.
That's not my, humor
that's not,
always has a target.
For me, humor's got a target. And that's okay to not like stuff. Like, it's okay to like stuff and it's okay not to like stuff. So it's tough. It can be difficult depending on the topic too. Like, sometimes the topic is tough. And there's been times entire segments have been caught out of our show because of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, you know what? None of this works. And it's just like, it just doesn't work, period. We did a whole episode of Citation Needed. We read the whole thing. We did the whole thing. I mixed the whole thing and I threw it away.
Yeah.
So that's happened sometimes. Sometimes it just happens. You just got to recognize what is going to really hurt people.
Yeah,
and I don't want to hurt people.
And I'll say too, and you guys all know this, but during the height of the pandemic, when everything was shitty, we changed the show.
We did.
For
We
6 months.
100% changed the show.
Right? Because like all the topics of the day were too serious.
Yeah.
And so making a joke about things that were hurting people didn't feel appropriate.
Yeah. And we got a message. I got a message during that time where someone was like, they sent me a private Facebook message like, love what you do. And then the moment when we started going back to politics, they sent me another private Facebook message and said, I hate what you do now. And I was like, cool, thanks. Because we were doing funny, goofy stories. We were doing offbeat stories, and they really liked that.
Yeah.
And they found us during the offbeat. And then when we started doing more serious stuff, they're like, I hate you. And I'm like, cool, I hate you too. I don't care. Like, whatever, go away. Like, I'm not fucking downloaded on every iPod. Go find another show.
Yeah, I'm not.
But genuinely, like, you're right. We changed a little bit of our format.
Yeah,
so
we did.
All right, we got to do more stuff. I'm sorry, guys. We got to bounce.
Wow, this went along.
This went a long time.
I didn't even know this went so long.
I didn't realize this. Oh, we got more, Ian, before we go?
There was one from Stoned Banana. Let me just click it because it was funny. I should have clicked it when you were talking about the thing. Marriages, where to go? God damn it. Stoned Banana,
People
what did you
always
say?
point
Say
out
it again.
Eli's tough to do that, to edit, but it's like, yeah, Heath is bad too, man.
Well, Heath will think of something a half a beat into the essay.
Yeah.
So you'll start reading the essay, and Heath has a lot of he's funny.
He's very fast too.
Yeah.
Very fast.
But he's a half a beat into the essay.
Very
So
fast
like,
on his feet.
fuck.
Yeah.
From Stone Banana, I met my ex-wife while working at Walmart together. Should have gone to Target instead.
Jesus Christ.
Nice.
All right. Okay. On that note, we got to bounce, everybody. We got more
long
stove.
stream.
It was long. Sorry, guys. Thank you for hanging out, though. We appreciate it.
thank you, guys.
Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And we'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we had a lot of fun doing this. We'll probably try to do this maybe every 6 months because this is a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to do. So, all right, guys. Stay tuned, though. What I got in my hands today, Tom, I got sent back from the editor the full book.
Oh, I'm excited.
I saw it. I saw the whole book. I got to upload it to Kindle Digital Publishing, print out a copy and read through it to make sure it's 100%. But the book's coming real soon.
Do you
guys.
have a Kindle?
Kindle Digital Publishing will actually print a print copy and send it to my house.
Oh, shitty
yeah,
shit.
so I have to get a print copy so I could read it and look through it. But the Kindle version, you should download and look through.
Yeah.
So,
Because I've got a Kindle.
yeah, no, it's outstanding. It's very close, guys. Very close. Very, very close. We're super excited. All right, guys, we got to bounce.
All right, guys.
So
Thank
long,
you,
everybody.
Alrighty.
Take care. Bye. Bye. We wave.
There it is.
Yay.
Wave.
Okay.
I
Wave
went
at
so
the
long.
thing.
I can't believe it went an hour and 40 minutes.
I know, it's so long.
A lot of good questions.
Probably
so
because
long.
Ian was on.
Fucking Ian.
Slows
He
everything
took
down.
up so much of our time, Ian.
Slows everything down.
What are you
Jesus.
talking about?
How did the stream work after that last hiccup?
Yeah, did it look
It was
good?
good.
Okay. All right.
It was good. It looks
wonder if
good,
we should
right?
just-
Doesn't it look good? Look at it right
Oh,
now.
God
It looks
damn
really
you.
good, right?
Look at that.
Oh, Jesus. Who? What?
Is that a MS Paint? Did you do that?
No, it's Photoshop. It's a very expensive program.
It is not. You liar.
God
Look at
damn.
that. I mean,
You look diabolical.
I downloaded it.
I look like I got hit with a shovel.
We
but
look
you
like we got
diabolical.
Beavis and Buttheaded.
I look like I genuinely got beat up. Like I look like somebody
Yeah.
beat the shit out of me.
I look like I'm about to
Yeah.
just like.
Oh,
I look like
someone
I gotta,
asked, "What's Ian's stream channel?"
No, I'm muting
What
you.
is-
I'm muting you. They can't hear you anymore. They can't hear you anymore. I muted it. I have no channel. I have no channel. I don't know what you're talking about.
What is
I have no
Ian's channel?
Okay. No.
Damn it. Chat, if you know
no,
channel-
no.
You can't block the
No.
chat.
Okay, I'm stopping it. Goodbye, everybody.